Some people don't lose because they are weak. They lose because they are pure in a world that rewards cruelty. They don't raise their voice. They don't calculate every move. They don't keep score of favors. They give. They trust. They stay. And somehow, they bleed the most. Have you ever felt this silent exhaustion? The kind that doesn't come from working too hard, but from being there for everyone while no one is there for you. You help people stand, and once they do, they look down on you. You forgive mistakes, and people mistake your forgiveness for permission. You stay loyal, and loyalty becomes your cage. This is the curse of being too good. Not because goodness is wrong, but because the world has learned how to exploit it. Good people don't walk around with armor, they walk around with open hearts. And open hearts are easy targets. They don't suspect betrayal, they don't expect manipulation. They believe effort will be returned, that love will be respected, that honesty will be valued. But life teaches a brutal lesson. Not everyone who smiles at you wishes you well. The more patient you are, the more people push your limits. The more you tolerate, the more they disrespect. And the more you stay silent, the louder their behavior becomes. Good people don't explode quickly. They absorb, they adjust, they compromise. Until one day, they are tired in a way sleep can't fix. They begin to question themselves. Am I too sensitive? Am I expecting too much? Is something wrong with me? No, there is nothing wrong with you. You were just taught that being kind meant being available, that loving meant enduring, that patience meant swallowing pain. No one warned you that the world would test your goodness by placing takers in your path. This video is not here to harden your heart. It is here to strengthen your spine, because kindness without strength becomes self-betrayal, and goodness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. If you have ever felt invisible after giving your best, if you have ever been blamed for being too nice, if you have ever been told you changed just because you finally chose yourself, then understand this. You didn't become cold. You became aware, and awareness is the beginning of power. This is the story of good people, not the weak, not the foolish, but the ones who survived being kind in a world that constantly tried to break them. Good people are often misunderstood. The world labels them as simple, soft, or too emotional. But in reality, good people are not weak. They are deeply aware. They notice what others ignore. They feel what others suppress. They understand emotions before words are spoken. Psychologically, good people are highly empathetic. They don't just hear your pain, they absorb it. That is why they forgive easily. Not because they forget the hurt, but because they understand why it happened. They look for reasons instead of revenge. They choose peace over proving a point. And in doing so, they slowly become comfortable being the ones who suffer silently. Good people are conflict avoidant, not because they are afraid, but because chaos drains them. They don't enjoy arguments. They don't enjoy power games. They don't enjoy winning at the cost of someone else's dignity. So they stay quiet. They adjust. They step back. But here is where psychology turns cruel. The human mind often equates silence with acceptance. When good people don't react strongly, others assume there are no consequences. And once people realize you won't fight back, they start pushing further. Good people also suffer from something called over-responsibility. They take blame even when it's not theirs. They feel responsible for other people's emotions, other people's mistakes, other people's happiness. If something goes wrong, they ask, what could I have done better? While others ask, how can I escape blame? This mindset makes good people reliable, and reliability makes them easy to exploit. Another psychological trait: good people believe in potential more than reality. They don't see who you are today. They see who you could become. They stay for the future version of people, not the present one. They tolerate disrespect, hoping one day it will turn into gratitude. But potential is a dangerous illusion. Many people never become who you imagine. They just become more comfortable hurting you. Good people are also deeply loyal. Once you earn their trust, they protect you, even from yourself. They defend people who don't deserve defense. They make excuses for those who don't deserve understanding. They remain loyal long after loyalty has been broken. Why? Because betrayal hurts them more than loneliness. And losing people feels worse than losing self-respect, at least in the beginning. Psychologically, good people fear being bad. They fear being labeled selfish, rude, or cold. So they sacrifice their own needs to maintain a moral image. But morality without self-respect becomes martyrdom. And here is the darkest truth of all. Good people don't realize they are being used until the damage is already done. They don't see red flags, they see temporary problems. They don't hear warnings, they hear misunderstandings. They don't walk away early, they wait until the pain forces them to. This chapter is not meant to shame good people, it is meant to wake them up. Because goodness is not the problem, unprotected goodness is. People who take advantage of others are rarely obvious villains. They don't announce their intentions, they don't come with warnings, they come smiling, they come charming, they come needy, and that is what makes them dangerous. Psychologically, exploiters are not always evil, but they are self-centered. Their world revolves around one question: what do I gain from this person? They don't build relationships, they calculate them. The first thing they do is observe. They watch how much you give, how easily you forgive, how often you say yes, how uncomfortable you are with conflict. They test you, quietly. A small favor, a late reply, a broken promise. If you tolerate it, they push further. Exploiters are experts at reading emotional patterns. They sense empathy like predators sense weakness. Not because empathy is weak, but because it comes without defenses. Once they realize you value peace over confrontation, they know they can cross lines without consequences. Another dark psychological trait: they confuse kindness with entitlement. Your help becomes their right. Your availability becomes their expectation. Your forgiveness becomes their escape plan, and when you finally resist, they don't apologize. They manipulate. They use guilt as a weapon. You've changed. You're not the person you used to be. After everything I've done for you, they flip the narrative, turning your self-respect into selfishness. Exploiters also thrive on emotional imbalance. They give just enough to keep you attached, just enough kindness to create confusion, just enough attention to maintain control. This is called intermittent reinforcement, the same psychological trap used in addiction. You wait for the good version of them to return, while enduring the worst version in the meantime. And the most dangerous part? Exploiters don't fear losing good people. They assume good people will always stay. Why? Because good people explain, they warn, they give chances. And every extra chance teaches the exploiter that there are no real consequences. Exploiters also lack deep empathy. They understand emotions intellectually, but they don't feel them. That is why they can sleep peacefully after hurting someone who is losing sleep over them. To them, your pain is inconvenient, not important. And when you finally break, when you finally step back, they are genuinely shocked. Not because they care, but because the supply is gone. Here is the brutal truth. People who take advantage don't change until access is removed. They don't learn from words, they learn from absence. This chapter is not meant to create hatred, it is meant to create clarity, because once you see the pattern, you can no longer be trapped by it. Kindness was never meant to be quiet, but the world only respects what pushes back, and that is where the misunderstanding begins. Good people are calm, they don't react instantly, they don't raise their voice to be heard. And in a world that confuses volume with power, calmness is seen as fragility. Psychologically, most people don't measure strength by character, they measure it by reaction. If you shout, you are strong. If you threaten, you are powerful. If you stay silent, you are assumed to be harmless. So when kind people choose patience over confrontation, others assume there is no limit. They don't think, this person is choosing peace. They think, this person won't do anything. And once that belief settles in, respect starts to erode. Kindness also delays consequences. Good people give warnings before action. They explain before they withdraw. They try to fix before they leave. But this creates a dangerous illusion that consequences will never come. People begin to believe they can cross lines endlessly without paying a price. And when consequences finally arrive, they feel betrayed. Not because you were wrong, but because they were too comfortable. Another reason kindness looks weak. Kind people don't advertise their strength. They don't remind others of their value. They don't list sacrifices. They don't demand recognition. In a society obsessed with self-promotion, those who don't sell themselves are assumed to have nothing to sell. But silence is not emptiness, and humility is not helplessness. The cruel irony is this: kindness requires more strength than cruelty ever will. Anyone can hurt, anyone can walk away, anyone can choose selfishness, but it takes strength to remain humane in an environment that rewards coldness. Yet the world does not test cruelty, it tests goodness. Because kindness is predictable. Kindness is forgiving. kindness gives one more chance, and predictable kindness becomes exploitable. There is also a biological truth behind this. Humans naturally push boundaries to see where resistance begins. When resistance is absent, the pushing doesn't stop, it escalates. So when kind people don't push back early, others push harder later. This is why kindness must be paired with firm limits. Without boundaries, kindness turns into permission. Without consequences, patience turns into weakness. And here is the hardest truth to accept. People don't respect kindness they didn't earn. They respect kindness that can be withdrawn. The moment people realize you can walk away, you can say no, you can remove access, their behavior changes. Not because they suddenly became better people, but because strength has finally been introduced. Kindness is not weakness. Unprotected kindness is. Kindness was never meant to be quiet, but the world only respects what pushes back, and that is where the misunderstanding begins. Good people are calm. They don't react instantly. They don't raise their voice to be heard. And in a world that confuses volume with power, calmness is seen as fragility. Psychologically, most people don't measure strength by character. They measure it by reaction. If you shout, you are strong. If you threaten, you are powerful. If you stay silent, you are assumed to be harmless. So when kind people choose patience over confrontation, others assume there is no limit. They don't think, this person is choosing peace. They think, this person won't do anything. And once that belief settles in, respect starts to erode. Kindness also delays consequences. Good people give warnings before action. They explain before they withdraw. They try to fix before they leave. But this creates a dangerous illusion that consequences will never come. People begin to believe they can cross lines endlessly without paying a price. And when consequences finally arrive, they feel betrayed. Not because you were wrong, but because they were too comfortable. Another reason kindness looks weak. Kind people don't advertise their strength. They don't remind others of their value. They don't list sacrifices. They don't demand recognition. In a society obsessed with self-promotion, those who don't sell themselves are assumed to have nothing to sell. But silence is not emptiness, and humility is not helplessness. The cruel irony is this: kindness requires more strength than cruelty ever will. Anyone can hurt, anyone can walk away, anyone can choose selfishness, but it takes strength to remain humane in an environment that rewards coldness. Yet the world does not test cruelty, it tests goodness. Because kindness is predictable, kindness is forgiving, kindness gives one more chance, and predictable kindness becomes exploitable. There is also a biological truth behind this. Humans naturally push boundaries to see where resistance begins. When resistance is absent, the pushing doesn't stop, it escalates. So when kind people don't push back early, others push harder later. This is why kindness must be paired with firm limits. Without boundaries, kindness turns into permission. Without consequences, patience turns into weakness. And here is the hardest truth to accept. People don't respect kindness they didn't earn. They respect kindness that can be withdrawn. The moment people realize you can walk away, you can say no, you can remove access, their behavior changes. Not because they suddenly became better people, but because strength has finally been introduced. Kindness is not weakness. Unprotected kindness is. Good people don't collapse all at once. They fade, slowly, quietly, invisibly. Not because they lack strength, but because they give it away piece by piece. The real problem is not that good people care too much. The problem is that they care without limits. They open their time. They open their energy. They open their emotions. And they forget to lock the door. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They decide who gets access, and how much. But good people confuse boundaries with selfishness. They believe saying no will hurt someone. They believe distance means betrayal. They believe protecting themselves makes them cold. So they stay available, always. Every call is answered, every request is accepted, every excuse is understood. Until availability turns into expectation, people stop asking, they start assuming. This is where the drain begins. Good people give more than they receive, and then blame themselves for feeling empty. They don't realize that energy is not infinite. Compassion has a cost. Emotional labor demands recovery. But no one tells good people they are allowed to rest. Without boundaries, good people become emotional dumping grounds. Other people unload their stress, their trauma, their problems, and walk away lighter, while the good person carries everything. And here's the cruel part. Most people don't notice the weight you're carrying because you never put it down. Good people also explain their boundaries, and that weakens them. They over-justify, they over-apologize, they negotiate their own limits. But boundaries don't need explanation, they need enforcement. The more you explain, the more manipulators look for loopholes. Another silent drain comes from emotional accessibility. Good people are always reachable, always responsive, always present. But constant access kills value. When people know they can reach you anytime, they stop respecting your time. When people know you will always forgive, they stop fearing consequences. And when people know you will always stay, they stop trying. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about teaching people how to treat you. The moment good people start setting limits, something interesting happens. People react. Some get angry. Some guilt trip. Some accuse you of changing. But that reaction is proof. It reveals who benefited from your lack of boundaries. Because people who respect you will respect your limits. And people who don't never respected you in the first place. Good people get drained because they wait too long to protect themselves. They wait until resentment builds, until exhaustion takes over, until love turns into obligation. And by then, the damage feels permanent. This chapter is not about becoming distant. It is about becoming intentional. Because boundaries don't reduce your kindness. They preserve it. Guilt is not always born from wrongdoing. Sometimes guilt is born from conditioning. Good people don't feel guilty because they did something wrong. They feel guilty because they did something for themselves. That is the trap. From a young age, many good people were taught that being loved means being useful, that being accepted means being agreeable, that saying no means disappointing someone. So when the moment comes to protect themselves, their body reacts before their mind does. Their chest tightens, their thoughts race, and guilt whispers, "If you say no, you'll hurt them." This guilt doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like morality. Good people confuse self-sacrifice with goodness. They believe endurance is strength and silence is maturity. So they say yes, even when their soul is screaming no. Manipulators understand this better than anyone. They don't force good people. They pressure them emotionally. They use phrases that carry invisible weight. "I thought you were different. I wouldn't ask if I had another option. You're the only one I can count on." These words don't demand, they bind. And once guilt enters the conversation, logic disappears. Another reason good people can't say no is fear of being misunderstood. They worry, what if they think I'm selfish? What if they leave? What if I become the villain in their story? So they accept pain privately to protect their image publicly. But guilt is not a moral compass. It is an emotional alarm, often triggered by manipulation. Healthy guilt appears when you harm others. Toxic guilt appears when you choose yourself. Good people live in toxic guilt. They apologize for needing space. They apologize for being tired. They apologize for setting limits. Eventually, they begin to resent the very people they are trying to protect. And resentment is what kindness turns into when it is forced. The cruel irony is this. The more you give out of guilt, the less genuine your kindness becomes. It turns into obligation. It turns into pressure. It turns into emotional debt. And the people benefiting from it, they rarely feel guilty at all. Because guilt belongs to those who still have empathy. Here's the awakening moment. You are not responsible for managing everyone else's emotions. Discomfort is not cruelty. Disappointment is not betrayal. And saying no is not violence. The moment good people learn to sit with guilt without obeying it, they become free. Guilt will scream at first. It will feel unnatural. But every time you choose yourself, its voice gets weaker. This chapter exists for one reason, to teach you that your worth is not measured by how much you endure. Good people don't stay because they are blind. They stay because they are afraid. Not afraid of pain, but afraid of emptiness. The fear of losing people is rarely about love. It is about attachment. Good people form deep emotional bonds. When they connect fully. They don't love halfway. They don't trust lightly. So, the idea of losing someone feels like losing a part of themselves. Psychologically, good people equate presence with safety. As long as someone is there, they believe things can still be fixed, even when respect is gone, even when effort is one-sided, even when pain has become routine. They tell themselves, at least they're still here, at least I'm not alone. And slowly, tolerance replaces happiness. Another reason good people stay too long is hope. Hope is powerful and dangerous. Good people remember the beginning, the promises, the rare good moments. They cling to memories instead of accepting reality. They stay loyal to who someone used to be, not who they have become. And hope whispers lies. They'll change. They didn't mean it. It's just a phase. But time reveals a brutal truth. Patterns don't lie. Yet good people fear walking away because walking away feels like failure. They think, what if I didn't try hard enough? What if I gave up too soon? So they keep trying, even when the cost is their peace. There is also the fear of being replaced, of being forgotten, of becoming irrelevant. Good people worry that if they leave, they will be erased. But what they don't realize is this: staying where you are, not valued, erases you faster. Another silent fear is conflict. Leaving creates confrontation, and good people avoid confrontation even when it is necessary. So they stay quiet, they stay patient, they stay, until staying hurts more than leaving. And by the time they are ready to go, they are emotionally exhausted. Here's the hardest truth. People who truly value you don't put you in a position where you must fear losing them. Healthy relationships don't survive on fear. They survive on mutual respect. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't love. It means you finally loved yourself enough to stop bleeding for someone else. Good people stay too long because they believe endurance equals loyalty. But real loyalty never asks you to abandon yourself. Good people don't walk into toxic situations thinking they will be destroyed. They walk in believing they can heal. They see pain behind cruelty, trauma behind anger, insecurity behind manipulation, and instead of walking away, they lean closer. The fixer mentality is born from empathy. Good people don't excuse bad behavior. They explain it. He's not bad, he's just hurt. She didn't mean it, she's been through a lot. They're like this because of their past. And slowly, explanation turns into tolerance. Good people believe love can rescue, that patience can transform, that sacrifice can soften someone's darkness. But here is the truth no fixer wants to hear. You cannot heal someone who refuses to take responsibility for their wounds. Pain explains behavior. It does not justify it. Fixers take on emotional projects that were never theirs to complete. They stay longer. They give more. They absorb damage. Because they believe if they leave, the other person will fall apart. But what really happens is this: the more you fix, the less they fix themselves. They grow comfortable being broken because someone else is carrying the weight. Another reason good people try to save others is control disguised as care. Not control over people, but control over outcomes. Fixers believe, if I try harder, things will change. This belief gives them hope in situations where hope no longer belongs. But healing requires willingness, and you cannot force willingness through love. The darkest part of the fixer mentality is self-neglect. Good people pour energy into repairing others while ignoring their own cracks. They postpone their healing, they suppress their pain, they delay their growth, until one day they realize they are empty, and the person they tried to save walks away, stronger, lighter, untouched. Here is the awakening moment. You are not a rehabilitation center for people who refuse to change. Your love is not medicine for someone who enjoys being sick. Leaving does not mean you failed them. It means you stopped failing yourself. Good people must learn this hard truth. Compassion without self-protection turns into self-destruction. The world does not reward the kindest person in the room. It rewards the boldest. This is a hard truth good people struggle to accept. From school to workplaces, from friendships to leadership, the ones who rise fastest are rarely the most moral. They are the most assertive. Society confuses confidence with dominance and dominance with strength. Those who interrupt are heard. Those who demand are respected. Those who refuse to bend are feared. Meanwhile, kind people wait their turn. They don't push, they don't compete aggressively. They don't step on others to climb higher. And while they are waiting, someone else takes their place. Modern systems reward results, not intentions. Outcomes, not effort. Visibility, not integrity. Kindness is quiet. Ruthlessness is loud. And loud behavior gets noticed. There is also a survival instinct at play. Humans are wired to respect power because power signals safety. Someone who dominates appears in control. Someone who accommodates appears flexible. And flexibility is often mistaken for weakness. So people align themselves with those who look unbreakable, not those who are gentle. Another dark reality. Ruthless people are comfortable being disliked. Good people are not. Ruthless individuals don't fear rejection. They are willing to burn bridges to get ahead. Good people protect relationships even when those relationships limit them. And in a competitive world, those who hesitate to offend often hesitate to rise. Kind people also follow rules, even when rules are unfair. Ruthless people bend rules, rewrite narratives, and justify behavior as strategy. And society often applauds them for it. Success is rarely questioned. Methods are quickly forgotten. This creates a painful illusion that being good means being left behind. But here's the truth beneath the truth. Society rewards ruthlessness short-term. It trusts kindness long-term. Ruthless people may climb faster, but they climb alone. Good people may rise slowly, but when they rise, they build foundations others stand on. The problem is not that kindness fails. The problem is that kindness is slow. And in a world addicted to speed, slowness feels like losing. This chapter is not telling you to become cruel. It is warning you to become strategic. Because goodness without awareness will be consumed by a system that does not protect it. Good people don't break loudly. They don't scream. They don't create chaos. They detach. Their breaking point is not a moment. It is a process. It begins with silence. Less explaining, less reacting, less trying. The same person who once fought to fix everything now watches things fall apart without reaching out. And that scares people. Because good people are predictable until they are not. Before they break, they give signs. They communicate their pain. They warn. They ask for change. But those warnings are often ignored because they come without threats, so people don't take them seriously. They mistake patience for permanence. And then one day, the good person stops. No final argument, no dramatic exit, just distance. This is the moment people say, "You've changed." But what they really mean is, "You're no longer tolerating what I benefited from." When good people break, they don't become cruel. They become clear. They stop over-explaining. They stop chasing closure. They stop begging to be understood. They realize that respect should not require repeated reminders. There is grief in this stage, not for the person they lost, but for the version of themselves who stayed too long. They mourn their own innocence, their own generosity, their belief that love alone was enough. And yet this breaking is not destruction, it is rebirth. For the first time, good people choose peace over approval, self-respect over attachment, boundaries over guilt. They don't hate anyone. They simply stop making room for those who made them feel small. The most dangerous thing about a broken good person is not their anger, it is their indifference. Anger still hopes to be heard. Indifference has already healed. And once a good person reaches that point, there is no returning to the old version. They are still kind, still compassionate, still human. But now their kindness has conditions, and their presence must be earned. Most good people suffer because they confuse being good with being nice. The world encourages niceness, but it respects goodness. Nice people seek approval. Good people follow principles. Nice people avoid discomfort. Good people tolerate discomfort for the sake of truth. Nice people say yes to avoid conflict. Good people say no when something violates their values. This difference is subtle, but it changes everything. Nice people give to be liked. Good people give because it is right. Nice people stay silent to keep the peace. Good people speak up to protect it. Psychologically, niceness is fear-based. It fears rejection. It fears judgment. It fears being misunderstood. Goodness is value-based. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't need permission. Nice people sacrifice themselves hoping it will earn love. Good people know love that demands self-erasure was never love. Another crucial difference. Nice people explain their boundaries. Good people enforce them. Nice people negotiate respect. Good people walk away when respect is absent. Nice people feel guilty for disappointing others. Good people feel responsible for disappointing themselves. This is why niceness drains you and goodness strengthens you. Niceness attracts takers. Goodness attracts equals. When you are nice, people test you. When you are good, people know where you stand. Being good doesn't mean being soft. It means being grounded. It means your kindness is intentional, not automatic. It means your generosity is selective, not desperate. The moment you stop being nice, some people will leave. Let them. Those who benefited from your silence will not survive your clarity, and those who respect you will finally feel safe around you. This chapter is the turning point, because once you understand this difference, you stop asking, "Why am I always taken advantage of?" and start asking, "Who deserves access to me?" Being good was never the mistake. Staying unprotected was. The world doesn't need fewer kind people, it needs strong kind people. Staying good does not mean staying available, it does not mean staying silent, and it does not mean staying where you are not respected. To remain good without being used, you must learn one truth. Kindness is a choice, not an obligation. Give because you want to, not because you feel guilty. Help because it aligns with your values, not because you are afraid of losing someone. The strongest good people live by clear rules. They don't rush to explain themselves. They don't chase validation. They don't beg for understanding. They observe. They notice who respects their time, who listens when they speak, who shows up without being reminded, and they adjust access accordingly. Another rule: match energy, not emotion. Don't give 100% to someone giving you 10%. Don't pour into people who never refill you. Reciprocity is not selfish. It is healthy. Learn to say no without anger, without apology, without justification. No is not rejection. It is direction. Protect your peace like it is sacred, because it is. Not everyone deserves your full heart. Some people only deserve politeness. Some only deserve distance. And distance is not cruelty. It is clarity. Understand this deeply. You don't owe access to anyone just because you are kind. Kindness with boundaries becomes self-respect. Self-respect attracts respect. You will lose people when you stop being easy to use. Let them go. Those who remain will meet you at your level, not drain you from it. And finally, remember this. You don't need to become cold to survive this world. You need to become conscious. Still kind, still compassionate, still human, but no longer invisible, no longer silent, no longer available to disrespect. That is not bitterness, that is growth. And if this video resonated with you, take it as a reminder. Your goodness is not your weakness. It is your power when you learn how to protect it. Being good was never the mistake. Staying unprotected was. The world doesn't need fewer kind people. It needs strong kind people. Staying good does not mean staying available. It does not mean staying silent. And it does not mean staying where you are not respected. To remain good without being used, you must learn one truth. Kindness is a choice, not an obligation. Give because you want to, not because you feel guilty. Help because it aligns with your values, not because you are afraid of losing someone. The strongest good people live by clear rules. They don't rush to explain themselves. They don't chase validation. They don't beg for understanding. They observe. They notice who respects their time, who listens when they speak, who shows up without being reminded, and they adjust access accordingly. Another rule: match energy, not emotion. Don't give 100% to someone giving you 10%. Don't pour into people who never refill you. Reciprocity is not selfish. It is healthy. Learn to say no without anger, without apology, without justification. No is not rejection. It is direction. Protect your peace like it is sacred, because it is. Not everyone deserves your full heart. Some people only deserve politeness. Some only deserve distance. And distance is not cruelty. It is clarity. Understand this deeply. You don't owe access to anyone just because you are kind. Kindness with boundaries becomes self-respect. Self-respect attracts respect. You will lose people when you stop being easy to use. Let them go. Those who remain will meet you at your level, not drain you from it. And finally, remember this. You don't need to become cold to survive this world. You need to become conscious. Still kind, still compassionate, still human, but no longer invisible, no longer silent, no longer available to disrespect. That is not bitterness. That is growth. And if this video resonated with you, take it as a reminder. Your goodness is not your weakness. It is your power when you learn how to protect it.